There's so much going on in the world around us that's difficult and painful. And within us also. You can live in the most beautiful places and still suffer. And, I'm just so grateful for the Buddhist teaching, because it gives us kind of resources, the means to understand suffering, to make peace with suffering, to realise that actually difficulties and struggle are part of life. It's not a problem. To feel that however beautiful the world is, however great our situation, however fortunate we are, we may still experience some suffering, and that's okay, that's normal. And then we look at the suffering all around us and can feel overwhelmed sometimes, confused. Why is this happening? Why are all these terrible things happening? And yet, within the Buddha's teaching, we have ways to help us to understand causes of suffering, why there's suffering in the world, and how to work with it skillfully. How not to increase suffering, but rather we can actually work very actively to diminish, to lessen, to help the situation, both within and around us. So I think this is such a great gift, and it's beyond words, isn't it? We have a sense of direction. We have a sense of meaning and purpose in a way, how we can live our lives in the best way. And of course it's a work in progress because the Buddha's teachings are very profound and very expansive. It's a learning experience day by day, and every day we can learn a little bit more and let go a little bit more and understand a little bit more, knowing that there's always more to come until we reach the end of suffering, until we've seen our way through all the causes for suffering and all the delusions, illusions, all the ways in which we get caught up in desire, in aversion, in confusion. So, this First Noble Truth of the Lord Buddha, there is suffering. It can be, people say, Buddhism is a bit negative, focusing on suffering, but of course it's not at all negative. It's like this is the foundation, or this is the accepted reality. And until we accept the reality of the unsatisfactoriness of the conditions we find ourselves in, we're going to keep struggling against the inevitable truth of suffering. Denying suffering doesn't help. It's inevitably, as life goes on, stuff happens. To each and every one of us. I don't think there's anyone who has the perfect 100% happy life. I think that's probably safe to say that that's an impossibility. So the first teaching of the Buddha was actually the great declaration. He met somebody on the road, didn't he, after he became the Buddha, after he woke up. The wanderer who met him on the road was very struck, very taken by the appearance of this person who was glowing, radiant. He was very attractive to people. People wanted to be around the Buddha because of his peace, his well-being. And this wanderer approached him and said, goodness, please tell me, who's your teacher? What's your practice? How is it you look so serene and happy and well? First teaching of the Lord Buddha, he said, I am awake. I have no teacher. I realise the truth myself. I'm free from all suffering. I've attained nibbana. I've attained coolness. I'm at peace. And the wanderer just said, oh, good for you, and turned and walked away. He wasn't in the least bit interested to pursue. There was nothing he could get hold of and be helped by in that. He was pleased maybe for the Buddha, but it didn't help him. It didn't help him. And so this via positiva, giving the goal and focusing on that doesn't really help us necessarily, because what we actually need is a way out of the maya of suffering. And it's very inspiring to recognise that there is a way out and that there are people who've realised complete freedom from suffering. But how do we get there? And so from then on, the Buddha started teaching the Four Noble Truths, didn't he? Number one truth, there is suffering. And I like this word dukkha. It's a really interesting word in Pali. Dukkha. It gives the impression of something like a wheel, something like a mechanism. And the do part is the brokenness of that. It's like a wobbly wheel. It's good, but it's never quite perfect. We can't quite polish it to perfection. Or even if it is perfect for a while, even if we feel absolutely well, absolutely delighted with the conditions around us for a while, then inevitably they change and we're disappointed. So this word dukkha, it really means unsatisfactory. It means slightly off kilter. Life is slightly off kilter if we're lucky, if we're fortunate, or having a fortunate time, because at other points it will be more than slightly off kilter. So the Buddha was pointing to the imperfection of this experience, being born, being alive as a human being, and the inevitability of, as a human being, aging, possibly getting sick, and that death is inevitable for all of us. These are the big challenges, but there are many, many, many challenges along the way, aren't there? And if not personal challenges, then challenges of looking around us and seeing what's going on and feeling the imperfection of that. So the First Noble Truth, this is the baseline for us all. And we're all in the same boat. And there's something about that that's very somehow supportive. We're Sangha, we're all together in this. We're brothers and sisters, friends in old age, sickness and death. We share this, and we can surely help each other a great deal on the path, because we all know what it is to suffer. And so it's the great equalizer, the great leveler, the great truth which begins to set us free as soon as we start to accept, well, this is how it is. Until we really take on board and consider and open to the truth of dukkha, the First Noble Truth, we're always a little bit struggling with reality, a little bit in denial, and that's an unfortunate place to be. So step one, there is dukkha. And for a lot of people I know in the monasteries come into the holy life because something's happened, something difficult, traumatic even. Something's really sort of, a death of a close relative, some personal trauma. Something's really shattered their sense of well-being, and thereby the doors start to open. The door opens to reality, and the spiritual search can begin. And so it's a very amazing paradox to me that for a lot of people, the big sufferings in their life are actually the very experiences that propel us onto the spiritual path. And we look back and we say, oh, thank goodness I had that experience, because if that hadn't happened to me, I would still be, rolling along and quite oblivious to deeper truths, and the spiritual path would have passed me by. That would have been a great shame for me. Of course, in the times of great suffering, we don't feel that way, and it's the last thing we would want for ourselves or for anybody else. And yet, in retrospect, often we can feel, oh yes, goodness me, that really opened me. That really enabled me to see more clearly. That really was a source of great wisdom for me. Two sides to everything. The First Noble Truth can sound rather depressing, but it's not at all. It's rather joyful, strangely joyful, to come home to the reality of the situation. I'm on solid ground now, and from this place I can proceed in a real way, in a genuine way, in a way that's integrated, in a way that's in tune with nature, And then we have the opportunity to start to look at the other noble truths. Second and third noble truths. So why is there suffering? And it's not what it immediately at first seems to be. It's not actually necessarily because of sickness or aging or death or trauma or loss, misfortune, injustice. It's not actually because of those things. At first it seems it's obviously because of misfortunes of all these different kinds. But no, that's not the reason. The reason we start to realise, the reason that we suffer is because we are wanting things to be other than the way they are. We're wanting something to change. We're wanting to rearrange reality. We're wanting to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. The ship's going down and we want to control. It's desire. It's desire that causes all our suffering. Because those things that happen in life, the worldly winds of good fortune and bad, fame and disrepute, the pleasant and the unpleasant, they're inevitable. They're just the way it is. And aging and sickness and death are inevitable. They're natural. They're part of the natural order. There's nothing actually amiss. The only thing that is amiss, really, when we look more deeply, is our relationship with reality. If we're not willing to allow and accept things to be the way they are. And I'm not saying we sit passively and don't do anything to help the world, to serve or to support. Not at all. But I think right action comes from this place of realisation. First of all, make peace here. And once we have a peaceful heart, a heart that accepts the way things are, then we can act very effectively. Because we're coming from a place of understanding. Our work then, as spiritual practitioners, basically, is to notice when we start to fight with reality, when we start to desire and we start to want to follow those desires, or we start to push away, act with aversion. It's the desire and aversion is not even the problem. That's not actually the problem. That's also natural because we have past karma. Even that's not actually the source of our suffering. Desire and aversion will come and go. When we get caught is when we follow them. We immerse in them. We lose ourselves. And we're off. We're in samsara. We're rolling. Rather than being aware of what's coming and going and just letting it be, letting desire arise and pass away, which it always will do, given time and space, or aversion, just watch it arise, feel it, see how long it lasts, and watch it fade. When we can be mindful, in short, when we can be mindful, we don't get caught up and we don't suffer. It's a choice. We realise, oh my goodness, I have a choice here. I don't have to suffer, even though there's all sorts of difficult feelings here and coming and going, even though I'm really, the yearning and longing for this or that is really, whoa, wave after wave arising within me. All I actually have to do is breathe, relax, and be aware of it. And just watch the waves crashing, This is liberation. It's like a mini liberation every time we manage to stay steady in the storms, in the emotional ups and downs, in the just even slight twinges of wanting and not wanting. So the call is really to be mindful in every experience, in every moment, to be able to give priority to simply noticing. Being aware of the body helps so much, doesn't it? Because this is where it all arises. The emotions surge up from within, and if we can have a good body awareness and keep that body awareness going throughout the day, we can catch the arising of desire and aversion, and we can then focus on them and just not let them grow into suffering for us, not let ourselves be caught up, not be submerged under the waters. So the first and second noble truth are always relevant, always important for us, and they give us the way of practice. So we can observe desire, aversion, two sides of the same coin, aren't they? And we can see the way out of suffering, which is simply to let go of desire and aversion, not to let them overwhelm us, but rather to allow them to do their thing, learn from them, and the letting go happens simply through observing, simply through not reacting, simply through maintaining our equanimity. This is a life practice, it's not easy. And what we'll notice is, of course, we get caught up again and again. Again and again, we lose it. We're off. We're going down the waterfall. Crash, And then another aspect of our practice can be, surely needs to be, to forgive ourselves for that. As soon as we notice we've lost the plot, we're rolling around in suffering, just to come back. Be kind to this poor suffering being and find ways to ease that suffering as quickly as we can. Recrimination, blame, judgment, they don't have any purpose here. But compassion and loving kindness help us to relax and just come back and move forward in a good way. So these qualities also become a very important part of the path. Metta, loving kindness and compassion, they're the balm for the wounds. And we all have past karma, as I've said, and it's like we don't know what's coming next. We really don't. We don't know what's around the next corner because we're not in control of our past karma. Cause and effect rolls on. And then the wonderful opportunity we have is to watch the karma as it unfolds and not to take it personally. So bad stuff happens, good stuff happens. It's not mine, it's not me, it's cause and effect. An awful lot of mental complexity, mental proliferation can be cut through in this way, and we can stay very clear and very present if we recollect again and again the great teaching of the Lord Buddha of anatta, not self, not to take things personally. When we own our experiences, we can really get overwhelmed again with suffering. Something terrible happens to me, out of the blue, someone comes along and harms me. Why? Why me? Why should that happen to me? There's no answer to that. The Buddha said if we try to understand why things happen, our head will split into 7 pieces. I think the meaning of that really is we'll just go a bit crazy. We will get very scattered and confused. It's going to cause a lot more problems for us. We don't need to know the causes, but we can be very sure that there is a reason for everything. And it's not about blaming and judging at all, because nothing's personal. There's no one to blame or judge. There's just causes and conditions. So when very unfortunate things happen, rather than endlessly trying to understand why me and trying to make sense of what's going on, the quickest and most effective way to practice is to just accept this is the way it is right now, and to turn it around through our mindfulness practice. That is, to be aware, to be kind, to focus here rather than on any external happenings, people, events, rather than reliving the traumatic experiences or wanting to say this or that, or to, we go over things that have happened, don't we? And we try and figure out how we could have done it differently. How could I have made this not happen? Pointless, fruitless waste of time. Waste of time. Best thing to do is to just keep letting go of the thoughts and come back to the body, isn't it? And to come back to the body is to really feel, and to really feel is to really get real about what's actually happening here. And the body will even also relive, but when we're in the body we can absolutely connect with what's important for us. To really feel out what's happening, and we can find our way without even actually any sense of having to understand or having to direct ourselves, but we can literally let the body heal itself. And as we let the body heal itself, of course we're letting the mind heal itself, because they're inextricably connected. So as the body relaxes, de-traumatizes, maybe shakes and, whatever it needs to do, at the same time the mind is also able to disentangle itself from the kind of knot that it's in. There's no limit to these wonderful teachings, how we are helped, and the kind of guidance we can find in the Buddha's teachings, in the words of the Buddha. He said himself, there's not one single aspect of suffering that I have not experienced. He, even in his lifetime as the Bodhisattva, the lifetime in which he became a Buddha, he went through 6 years, didn't he, of self-mortification. Who knows why? He just felt that this was the way forward at that time. And for 6 years he starved himself, he deprived himself of every possible comfort, and he suffered physically and no doubt mentally. And he even went through breathing practices. He decided, well, I've given everything else up. I'm eating a sort of grain of rice every few days. Or he was extremely emaciated. His body was racked with suffering, malnourished, mistreated. And he decided, well, what else can I do? So I'll hold my breath. I'll give up breathing. See how little breath I can manage with, And it was so painful. And he describes in graphic detail what it was like, the pains that racked his body. And he kept going with this, but, So years of suffering in the actual life that he became a Buddha. He came to a point where he realised this was not very fruitful, and he changed his practice. And not long after that, he became enlightened. We can learn from the Buddha's experience, because he talked about it again and again to so many people in the course of his lifetime as a Buddha. He helped us because he enabled us, I think, to make the shortcut. So he said this was fruitful, this was not valuable. It's not good to add suffering. It's good to release from suffering, to relieve suffering, to be free from suffering. Therefore, ascetic practices may have their place, but only up to a point, and not to harm or hurt this body in the name of spiritual progress or spiritual path.